Hi, I'm Mai. Welcome to the next video in the HCI series about Jakob Nielsen's usability heuristics. This video is about the fourth heuristic, consistency and standards. To understand consistency and standards, perhaps it's a good idea to understand who makes and breaks them. Warren Buffett is the 10th wealthiest man in the world and one of the most successful investors. CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, a multinational holding company that holds either the entirety or a significant shareholding in companies such as Kraft Heinz, Coca-Cola, and even Apple Technologies. He's also a philanthropist, pledging to give away 99% of his fortune. So, in a word, a badass. Multinational companies have a lot of pressure to deliver online experiences that excel in usability. Let's have a look at Apple's website to remind ourselves of this. So here we are on Apple's website. It's pretty straightforward, right? It's very responsive. You can scroll down, you can see some really pretty pictures. There's a lot of links and information at the bottom, which is pretty normal for company websites. If you're really struggling on where to go, kind of everything's in the same place, and we know that the contact us button is going to be down here as well. Up the top, you can see our menu bar. It's pretty straightforward. You've got the logo, and we always know that clicking the logo will navigate back to the home page. There's the magnifying glass. Note that it's in the same place as on medium.com. And you've also got the shopping cart, which is over at the top right, which tends to be the case if you're shopping. It's really responsive, really easy to navigate. So even if I'd never been to the Apple website before, I'm pretty sure that I could figure it out. Now, let's have a look at Berkshire Hathaway's website. This is it. It's pretty amazing, right? So it doesn't really follow any kind of convention here. Things aren't listed. I don't think they're listed in chronological order. It's not very responsive at all. It's a great example of not using usability heuristics. Of course, my cursor does understand that this is a hyperlink, but there's no hover over features. You can see some highlights, but that's just built into HTML. You have got legal disclaimers. It's got like the address up the top. Actually, we'd probably normally find that down the bottom on regular websites. You get the picture. Heuristic 4, Consistency and Standards, suggests that users should not have to worry whether different words, situations, or actions mean the same thing. User interfaces should follow platform and industry conventions. Unlike Berkshire Hathaway's website, most websites or applications won't have an overwhelming and obvious reason for users to want to be there. So if your users become confused or frustrated, they're just going to leave. Consistency and Standards attempts to prevent that confusion and frustration. It can be as simple as putting certain features where people expect them to be, for example the back button being at the top left of the screen, or the login, sign up, or shopping cart being at the top right. It can also include using the same icons, symbols, or words for certain features, such as a magnifying glass symbol for search, or the shopping trolley for an online shopping cart. Jakob's law of internet user experience states that users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as all other sites they already know. You should design for patterns for which users are already accustomed. Yes, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway have broken this rule, but that's because they know that users will prefer their site based on what they do off it. In business, this is called a unique value proposition. Berkshire Hathaway can be pretty confident that even though their website doesn't behave like anything that was designed after 2005, users will still attempt to navigate it because it's worth enough to them. It goes to show that you can absolutely be a badass and a rebel, but it's important to know what you're doing if you want to do that. Otherwise, it's a good idea to stick to what you know, and what you know works. Remember our floppy disk save icons from the Heuristic 2 video? Let's have another look at those. We know that Heuristic 2, match between system and the real world, is the reason why the save icon was modeled on the floppy disk. But why has that icon been kept, even after it no longer matches the real world? It's not like many of you knew what a floppy disk was, right? That's because of consistency and standards. Even though the floppy disk is no longer a match between system and the real world, it is so familiar in context that it continues to be used for consistency. Likewise, the wired telephone symbol and the mechanical cog. It's consistent. But just as the real world is open for interpretation, consistency and standards should be too. What is a standard for one culture might not even be normal for another. A good example of this is information hierarchy, where certain objects are placed on a page based on where our focus goes first. In Western English-speaking countries, we read from left to right, top to bottom. That means that the first place we look on a page tends to be in the top left. It's where we start reading. But we're not born with those eye-tracking patterns. We learn them as we develop, based on the behaviours of those around us and the media we consume as we grow and develop. Of course, many of you will already know that this isn't the way the whole world works. Different cultures and languages present information in different hierarchies. For example, Arabic and Hebrew languages, among others, are read from left to right. Does that mean that the most important information should be located in the top right of a page? Does that mean that the website should be entirely redesigned if it is intended for audiences from different cultures? These are all really important considerations for designers, and particularly up-and-coming tech professionals. For too long, the digital world has been created for people of a specific cultural norm. If we want inclusion in design for accessibility, we need to be thinking about how what we design can exclude others too. At the end of the day, consistency and standards is about dependability. We trust things we can depend on, and we remember when people and products let us down. If we know we can always find the back arrow, or the search bar, or our shopping cart, if we know what icons mean because we've seen them before on our favourite websites, then we're going to trust a user interface, even if the content is different. Let's have a look. So let's start with Netflix, because they pretty much came up with this format, right? I'm pretty sure they did. So when you scroll down through Netflix, you know that previews of shows, so you hover your mouse over, it's going to preview it. You can use the arrows to go across. It's just really straightforward. We know exactly where things are. If we click here, it's going to take us back to the home. It's going to have some previews here. Okay, so let's go to another streaming platform, Disney Plus. Kind of looks a bit similar, right? You scroll down, you can see some previews. You can scroll across to see things. Obviously, hovering over gives you a little bit of responsiveness there, visibility of system status at work. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's go to Neon. Same again. Got the little boxes and previews. Hover over. You can use just the little arrows here. So we can pretty much guarantee that if a user has used one of these platforms, like Netflix or Disney Plus or Neon, then they can navigate the others really quickly. So the time between them signing up for that viewing platform or the streaming platform and getting to start watching something that they really want to watch, it's pretty short. Let's recap for retrieval. The fourth Nielsen heuristic is consistency and standards. Users should not have to wonder whether different words, situations, or actions mean the same thing. Jakob's law states that users spend most of their time on other sites and prefer your site to work the same way as all the other sites that they already know. But this doesn't mean that you always have to do the same thing. Sometimes you can be part of creating what becomes standard. For example, Netflix pretty much created the gold standard for paid streaming services. But you have to know the rules before you break them. And remember, what's the norm for one culture might be novelty for another. So keep that in mind. Namihi kia koutou. Thanks for watching, team. Remember, you can always reach out by email, through Discord, or by coming along to our class sessions if you need any help. From me and Gary, ka kite, kia haumaru te noho.